work that you were doing. I know we're showcasing a few of you, but you all did really good work, and you continue to do good work. Little fun fact that you might or might not know, in 2013, the Bloomberg administration started this software engineering pilot program, which is our program now. And we were one of the first 20 schools to offer, to raise our hand and say we want to do this program because we thought it would be really great for our students. And at that time, the Chancellor Walcott, he came to our school to announce the software engineering pilot. And another fun fact is Mr. Mueller was the first software engineering teacher. He was a math teacher before that, but when we kind of were looking for volunteers to do something new and different, Mr. Mueller raised his hand. So he's been with the program since 2013, which is a long time. At this point, the way we've expanded is now every 9th grader gets that kind of intro to software engineering or computer science course, which wasn't the case earlier. And then as a sophomore, you elect to kind of follow that path. Wonderfully, we have kids that continue to pursue software engineering or computer science and programming, but we also just have students that have benefited from the critical thinking that you learn in the program. So again, I am very proud of all of you. You all have chosen to do more, and we're very proud of you. So thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mueller.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the HSTAT Software Engineering Program Showcase. Obviously you guys know me, Mr. Mueller, and I am the SEP coordinator and the MC for this event, and I am a part of the wonderful computer science team here at Jolee, consisting of Ms. Vierling, Ms. Guzman, Ms. Sucaria, Mr. Ramey, and Mr. Figueroa. What we do would not be possible without them, so let's give them a round of applause. For many years, as Ms. Shepard said, students, staff, families, and members of our community have worked tirelessly to lay a foundation for this great program at our school. And we have now seen students come and go, and many of our SEP graduates are either studying rigorous majors in college or using their knowledge and skills from this program to further our society beyond college. Between countless hours put into projects and incredibly thoughtful reflections about each topic along the way, blogs, write-ups, I am so proud of the way that all the students have shaped this program. Today in the audience are obviously our current SEP students. We have alumni, HSTAT faculty, and families of our showcase finalists. Over the past few weeks, our current students were all given the opportunity to show off their most proud projects, their freedom projects, from this year at expos for our entire school. And today we recognize a few projects from each grade that exceedingly impressed the judges in the areas of creativity, usability, practicality, and their presentation. Before we get to our finalists, we would like to recognize some honorable mentions. Let's give it up in the 10th grade for Miles Post, Hassan Mahmoud, and Ocean Hardy. In the 11th grade, we had Allah Halim, Aaron Williams, and Tina Shao. And in the 12th grade, Coste Lalila, Jacob Levitt, Howlin, and Katie Coe. And although we won't see your projects today, you students should be exceptionally proud of what you made this year. So, on to our finalists. We are going to witness 9 presentations, 3 from each grade. You received 3 index cards on your way in, 1 for each grade. And so we're going to watch 3 presentations, and at the end of that grade, I will give you some time to pick one of those 3 to reflect on and to give the presenter some feedback. But you're going to wait until all 3 presentations before you write anything. So again, watch all 10th grade presentations, then I'll give you some time to write feedback for one 10th grader, and then we'll repeat for each grade. So starting with the 10th grade, students begin a long journey in the area of web development. They focus on what's called the front end of websites, which is concerned strictly with content and appearance. Students use industry-level tools such as the cloud-based collaboration software of GitHub, an integrated development environment, as well as Bootstrap to make their websites responsive to any size device, so it looks good on a phone or tablet, laptop, desktop, and they pick a topic that interests them. And they study the existing technologies in that field as well as they dream up future technologies. We all care about our wellness. Well, here to help you with that is our first presenter. Please help me welcome Sadik Hossain.
My name is Sadik, and today I'll be presenting my SEP 10 Freedom Project on medicine and technology, along with my future innovation called Mediscan Plus. So I'd like to start off my presentation with there's 3 images on the screen, and I want you guys to identify the commonality between all 3 of them. The answer is that they all involve technology. Technology has greatly improved medicine by making it faster, easier, and more convenient and accurate to monitor a patient's health. Through all 3 of these inventions, it has positively impacted the convenience and accuracy of doctors' diagnosis. So, what is medicine? Medicine is the science of diagnosing, testing, and preventing illnesses. Every day, medical healthcare professionals rely on technology to help save lives and monitor patients' health. My project focuses on how technology has improved medicine, and also how my innovation can also improve it. This is my website. So the first section of it highlights the importance between medicine and technology and how they share a field. So medicine and modern hospitals use software and medical equipment and digital communication devices to manage patient information and also provide diagnosis to patients. And on the second section of my website, here are some existing technologies that already exist. As you can see below, if you've ever been to a doctor, they usually shove this annoying thing on your finger, and that's called a pulse oximeter. And basically what it is, it uses light technology to give you your heart rate and how much oxygen is being delivered to the body, and potentially identify health problems. So that's one of the various ways technology has made it more convenient. But adding on to this, there's also telehealth platforms like Teladoc, which allows virtual appointments to happen, ZocDoc, which basically books these appointments, and PACS, which organizes x-rays, MRI scans, and CT scans. With this below, I use a bootstrap card system, which I'll get to that later because I had a lot of trouble with that. And this is my invention. Basically, what it is Mediscan Plus is an AI-powered healthcare device designed to help people receive medical care from home. The system will use a camera and analyze symptoms such as changes in breathing, voice, and appearance. AI would compare this with other medical databases and help identify possible conditions. Adding on to this, after the analysis is completed, then a licensed doctor will review it and then prescribe a medicine, a treatment plan, or even diagnosing. And to help visualize this idea, I created an A-frame 3D model. Here you can see it below. And basically, what that little apps inside represent is like, it analyzes the medical information that you give it, and embedded within the bezels of the device, there's a camera and microphone, which adds on to the symptoms. And there's also a flashing thermometer. Diving into the process, like I mentioned before, I had a lot of trouble with the bootstrap grid system because I wanted, at first, on the side you can see here, I wanted to have it horizontally evenly aligned. And to get this, since there's 12 columns, I had to divide, and I wanted 4 cards, I had to do 12 divided by 4, and that's why you can see class called MD3. And adding on to this, another challenge I had, as you can see from the GIF below, the animation of A-frames was difficult to first grasp because I've never used it before. But through YouTube tutorials, I figured out the perfect opacity for it, and here's some takeaways. And basically, the wireframe is like the blueprint of the entire website, so you can see a few resemblance, because I took a lot of ideas and inspiration from this. And that brings me to my takeaways. So the 3 main pillars that I focused on were 1, convenience, 2, utility, and 3, impactfulness. I believe Mediscan Plus encompasses all of these pillars, and it can help revolutionize the medical field. In addition to this, not only did I learn more about technology and medicine through this project, I also learned how to organize my time and how much thought and process and how much you have to process for a good invention to be able to happen. Overall, this project also taught me the importance of research. Thank you all for listening.
All right, thank you, Hossain. Continuing with the theme of self-care, our next presentation is something that you can really sink your teeth into. So give it up for Stephanie Flores-Ayona.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Stephanie. I will be talking to you about, well, we'll see that later. Okay, so have you ever wondered what kind of technologies are being used at your dental appointment? Like what their names are or what their functions are? Well, I'll be talking to you about dental technologies. Okay, so I organized my website from least complex technologies going on to the high complex ones. So right now I'm gonna give you a sneak peek of how the medium-ish kind of level complex technologies are. So on the left, we have a dental radiograph. So what they do is the patient simply has to grab this digital sensor, and when they're done using it, it shows this image and it checks for hidden issues, for example, cavities or hidden bone loss. And then on the right is kind of different because rather than using images, this one uses digital sensors and advanced software to see how your jaw is doing and the bite alignment. Okay, so I was thinking about the brainstorm of future dental technology. So you know how everyone uses water flossers? I think that it would be better if we would use actually string flossers, because I prefer string flossers rather than the water ones. So when you're done using the string flosser, it can change it. Okay. And it also has these buttons, the green and red button, the on and off. And then in the middle, it has this screen, so it tracks how many times a day you've flossed. And yeah, next. Okay, so here's the process of how I created that website. So over here, this is the code for the introduction of my website. So I use this to format the website. So I use row LG6, so that means that on the computer, half of it is the image and half of it is the content. And then when it comes to when you're on your phone, it stacks each other on so you can browse it easily. Okay, now we're moving on to the background of how my least complex technologies look like. So like a Pokemon card, you know how like you have like the image on top and then below you have the content. So that's what I did for the dental apps. So the dental app would have the screen on it and then the contacts on the app. I also use this responsive grid, so when you're looking at it on your computer, it goes from side by side. You can check the app, and then when you're on your phone, it double stacks. Okay, so this is the code for my A-frame. So I use these exact positionings and the rotations. I know you may ask, how did you achieve this? Did you have to calculate or do something to put all the positions and rotations? No. So what I did was I used the A-frame inspector. So what I would do is, in the inspector tool, you can move the components by itself, and then when you're done, you can copy and paste all those coordinates to the actual code right here. And then I want to conclude that you guys have to keep flossing and brushing your teeth no matter how much technology keeps getting better. That's the reason for why it's a tool. So rather than being like, oh, technology is getting better, I should stop brushing my teeth. No, you shouldn't do that. I think I also want to make a connection with AI. I feel like nowadays people use it to take advantage. I don't think that's the point. You'll have to use AI like as a tool, not something to take fully advantage of. I also want to conclude something, although it's not talked about. It was hard for me to make this website by aligning everything. So sometimes the images were too small or too big. And then another thing I want to talk about is that it's okay to put yourself like in the stage, like in front. It's okay to be confident. You don't have to always have to like shrink yourself. Like other people's opinions don't matter. Your growth and what you're gonna be in the future do matter. And then lastly, I also want to conclude. I also want to conclude that, I forgot. I think that's it, yeah. Thank you guys for
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, and our last presentation in 10th grade is literally out of this world. Please help me welcome Evangelina Ermakova.
Hello, my name is Evangelina Ermakova, and my project is on space exploration technology. Technology and space exploration go hand in hand, from something as simple as a telescope to complex as a rover. All of these technologies help us learn about the universe around us. But what about the future of space exploration technology? Well, my website explores the present and future technologies of space exploration. Here is my website, and basically the overview talks about how from the first satellite, Sputnik, to the modern technologies of today, all of these different technologies helped us learn about space. And while I was researching for technology, I divided my technologies into different categories, one of them being large technology. So one of my first technologies isn't exactly technology, it's a company called SpaceX that works on different technologies, such as the Falcon 9, which is one of the first reusable rockets. We also have the James Webb Telescope, and the James Webb Telescopes take different images of galaxies and constellations, and fun fact, the background of my website was taken by the James Webb Telescope. As well, we have biotechnology, and in biotechnology, I have tissue chips, which uses real human tissue to test the conditions of the human body in space without needing actual people. As well, we got simulations such as Space Engine. And Space Engine is basically a simulation where you can make Earth the size of Jupiter and see what happens. And we also got NASA's Eyes, which is a section of NASA's website that shows different probes and how they get to their respective planets. For example, we have Cassini that went to Saturn. And lastly, we got future technology, which I made myself. Basically, my first technology is a robot rover, where you can put on a robot headset, and then you can control this robot on Mars. And it's basically like you're actually on Mars, but you're not actually there. So like if your robot picks up a rock and you move with it, then you're technically actually picking up a rock on Mars. As well, we got 3D printed rockets. Because space exploration is really expensive and also it impacts the environment really negatively, I wanted to make a technology that will solve both of these issues by first making a rocket that's 3D printed with metal, which makes it not only more efficient but also more accurate, as well as adding solar panels instead of fossil fuels helps a lot with the environmental impacts. And before I close my website, I wanted to show one of my interactive features on my website. It is when you hover over images, it like glows, as you can tell here. And now back to my normal presentation. And this is my process of how I created my website. So my inspiration was Kiki's website, which is a K-pop group. And what I liked about their website is when you click these logos, then it makes a pop-up. And I also liked that it had a big picture background, and it was also really interactive. So I really wanted to implement those features into my website. And here's my wireframe, how I plan to make my website. As you can tell, it's pretty similar to the actual thing. And the only difference is the homepage where you put the logo slightly differently, but it still looks really similar. As well, I had to make an MVP. What should I add before doing anything else? Which is, my plan was to make a website with multiple pages displaying different types of technology. And on each different page of technology, on one side there is going to be images, and on the other side there will be text. As well, I wanted to make a whole background. And my Beyond MVP was to make images glow when the mouse is hovered, and instead of pages, for them to be an overlay like on Kiki's website. Unfortunately, I didn't get up to that part, but I did make the images glow when you hover over them. And my project was made with React.js, and it isn't standard HTML. It uses JavaScript, and with JavaScript, it's easier to implement features such as like buttons, to add loading screens. I didn't really use those features on my website, but now since I made it the base of my website, now I can add it into future parts of my website. And here is some code that I used. For example, instead of using normal HTML, when you're using JavaScript, you have to import images and web pages when you're trying to link them. So you write import, then you write a name for it, and then you get where you're taking this information from. As well, here is also how I coded my section of like the biotechnology. So this is how it would look like, and that is the code I wrote for it. It does look like standard HTML, but as you can tell, there are some differences, such as instead of class, it's class name. And as you can tell, instead of like images, writing the link, I wrote the name for it. And this is also all in a function, so that's what makes it more different. As well, this is how one of my large pictures on my homepage is. So as you can tell, here is the link, the name of the image, and also instead of making a href, it's just link, which makes it a lot more easier. And this is also a package JSON file, which I had to edit because my GitHub pages wasn't working normally, so I had to reinstall, make new GitHub pages, write my homepage, and also write the name of my repo, and it took a while. And here are my takeaways, which is takeaway 1 is that asking for help can be good. Shout out to Franco, I don't know where he is, he's right there. Basically, he helped me a lot with my website because we were both using React.js, and we both know that React.js was really horrible to use, just because it was such a hassle to implement. And he spent over 5 hours just working on installing React.js, and without his help, I would have took just as much, but instead I took a lot less time. So asking for help could make the process go faster. As well, takeaway 2, time management is important, because I did not expect to take that long on my website. I expected to take a lot less time. Like I thought I would be finished in like a couple periods, but I actually had to use one more extra than usual. And now I'll just expect that if I'm picking a difficult tool, then I will just need to spend more time on it while working on my project. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Evangelina. You have now seen all 3 10th grade presentations, and so let's take some time to pick. In the 11th grade, students do a deep dive into the language of JavaScript, which we just got a little sneak peek of. Thank you, Evangelina. After learning the fundamentals of this text-based programming, they create a project using a third-party library. And so our first junior has taken a pretty dry concept but made it fun. And here to unlock the secret is Damaris Pelaez. Thank you, Damaris.
Hi, good morning. I'm Damaris. So, have you ever wondered why your password is weak, or sometimes your Google account would ask you to rechange your password because you could endanger your account? So that's what I created. So my process was using the basic template that I use in Baser, which is my tool. So at first, I just experimented around with the basic template. And then since this is a platformer game, I thought, why not add more? So I added a score and health bar, which it correlates with whenever the sprite picks up stars, it will automatically add to your score, which is here and displayed in my code. As well as I use other videos and the documentation to help me through my process and finding out more ideas for my project, because in the beginning I wasn't too sure and I was really undecisive. So here's a little demo of my game. So when we enter, when we enter, it says create a password. I did not mention it in here, it's gonna be at least 8 characters long. You could use the enter key, and if it's good enough, it will show like a green color in your typing bar. But if it's not, the typing bar will shake because it's either not too good, it's not long enough, and we have 45-second timer. So here is just a little demo of me showing. So as you can see, when I type, it shows the strength, as well as when I enter, it shows the strength of my password. So here I am experimenting with some random sentences I decided to use. And then we have a game over screen, which shows your score. So for my MVP is basically similar to what I did with collecting stars and the scoreboards and everything like that. I used that, but with characters. So because a password always needs characters, symbols, and numbers, I added that to my code, which shows in the ... password, which is just a spreader. Basically, when you input your letters, it splits them up or spaces them out like an array, and it just reads. And based on your output, it shows here that any character that you have will give you at least a 25 score in your boost, as well as you having 8 characters long. And then you have another extra boost if you have special character or number, which in total you could get 100. So for my challenges is I had a really hard time adding both of my features together. For example, if I added my score together or a typing space, it would either not function or my screen would go blank. So it was really hard. And as well as my timing would repeat, which I didn't want to, so I kept adding different codes. But since it either looped again or it would just crash my game. So I know it's not mentioned here, but I just really want to emphasize the importance of passwords, because nowadays there's a lot of news about the government being hacked internationally, as well as schools being affected. But because there's not enough education about the schools and maybe even teachers not knowing why this could happen, but it's all because of a simple email you could get, maybe even your password being stolen. So I just really want to emphasize the importance of passwords. Even though you might just create something basic like 1, 2, 3, it's still important to add something unique to it, because that way it will take longer for hackers to get in. As well as no stress. I feel like I stress a lot because of my challenges. Use your resources. I feel like other finalists also emphasize their friends, maybe even Google. So use your resources. That's why you have Google, YouTube, maybe even your friends. Use your time wisely. I feel like I didn't really use my time wisely because I thought I was going to take less time, but in reality I took more time. As well as set deadlines, which was a recommendation by Mr. Mueller. It really helped me focus on my project. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Damaris. It is time to turn the page to someone who created a novel idea. Let's give it up for Kenji Denaro.
Thank you everyone. So my name is Kenji Denaro, it says on the screen if you couldn't tell, and this is my project. It's called Hermit. The problem I had that I wanted to solve was, imagine you have a favorite piece of media, is a book, movie, video game, even a song. Well, what do you do if you couldn't access it anymore, or the only way you could access it is you have to travel or go through legally gray means to obtain said thing? This is a really big problem in the United States, as shown here. 92% of book bans initiated were from pressure from groups, government officials, and decision makers, and not parents. 39% of book bans target stories with LGBTQIA people and or people of color. And 66% of banned books require special permission from parents, which actually restricts access to books that people need and might be punished for reading. And this is my source. So my solution was Hermit. It's a tool that can help you search for banned books, provide an open library, or find an open library to locate them, and also access it online. It's simple to use. You can search up a book and it will find it for you. And also it has a link, but it's a kind of a bizarre one. So this is the gift of this demonstration. This is a book. You can see all the places it's banned at, and then you can click a link to access it. How it works: Hermit searches for a requested title. Hermit searches through a database of banned books from 2021 to 2025 across the United States to find said book. And then it spits out an open library link which goes to another thing called WorldCat, which you can access it and find it in the real world. So this is how it works. I got a database from an organization called PEN America, which has all of the banned books from 2021 to 2025. Then I used JetAdmin to convert the sheets into a readable format by Firebase. And then I had Hermit access those said data through Firebase and spit it out when you search it up, as you can see here. Hiccups: I had errors with object promise, which it took too long to request for a book cover, which means I had to scrap Hermit from showing book covers. And also, a major problem was I am very good at procrastinating, but I managed to do the entire project in a few days, and I just barely got it to be done in time before the deadline. And this is the other hiccups. I had ran out of Firebase credits, which cost money, like real money, and I had to shell out some of my own money in order to continue working on the project. And also, this is a bit of a stupid one for me. I tried putting everything in a single file because I was very tired at 11 at night trying to figure out how it works. And it turns out I had to make a JS file, CSS file, and an HTML file, which I did not realize. Future tips: a lot of work can be accomplished in a short amount of time if you focus and persevere. If I had started my MVP earlier, I would be able to accomplish more features. Be prepared to pay for extra resources, example Firebase, and always ask help for certain things. Thank you, Dad. All right, thanks for listening. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Kenji. And our final 11th grade project is quite the optimal project. Let's hear it for Jolee Liu.
Hello. Do you see this score distribution? And do you perhaps want to be this 49%? Well, I know you do. Or if you look on the other side, do you want to be this 36%? I know you don't want to look like this. So that's why I made a project for AP Calculus, or just Calculus in general. I realize you don't have any devices, but if you have good memory and you want to go to my website later, you could just go to this link. This is my website. As you can see, right now I have 3 decks on here, which is the unit circle, derivatives, and identities. I personalized it, so I added one of my favorite characters. It's a very minimalistic design because it's designed to help you study and practice active memorization, because if there's too much going on the screen, it's really hard to concentrate. At the top, I have a nav bar, which is home and secret. When you click on a deck, and it'll bring you to this screen. At the top, it'll show you your score, and also the progress of the question. And here you have the actual question. So if you answer a question wrong, you get this little animation which has like a sad little sprite on it. But then if you get it right, you get this cheeky, nice animation. And if you're in the middle of the deck and you decide that you don't want to do anymore, you could just go up here and then home, and it'll bring you back to the home screen. Here's a GIF of me completing the derivatives deck. As you can see, I listed it earlier, when you get a question right, the score will increase by 1, and so will your progress. I designed it so that, it's not shown here, but I designed it so that you have infinite attempts to answer the question right, because I feel like this helps with active memorization and helps you memorize better. Because once you get it right, it'll stick to your brain, and then you'll know for the future. Going into the process, the tool I used was called Vue.js, which is a JavaScript framework, which basically helps make your website like more structured. One of my key ways, or also favorite ways that I used it was for like Vue conditionals, which meant that you won't be redirected to like to another HTML page. So like on my website, if you remember, like when it transitioned from the home screen to the question screen, that's actually on the same HTML page, but it's just different containers being toggled on and off. For an example, if you look at the top, there's one that says home, and it will toggle on if play is not true. Another way I used Vue.js was to store my information. At the top, you can see that I have a dex object, which holds the 3 decks I have currently, and inside there is a question array, which I simplified it so it can all fit on the screen, but there are more questions than this. Another way I used Vue was with Vue transitions and Vue conditionals again. If you noticed earlier, I have a little mini animation when you get a question right or wrong, and it's shown in the code here. When you get it correct, you get a cheeky sprite, and if you get it wrong, you get a sad sprite. Something I want to point out here is the key. So the key, I set it to question number, and this was kind of important because like before when I didn't have it, it was kind of a minor inconvenience where the animation would only show up for like the first question, so I needed to add the key so it would keep on showing for the future questions. Another thing was that I actually revisited old concepts from SEP 10. I think it was called the ABD project. CSS transitions was not my topic, so I didn't really know how to use it, but because I write down a lot of notes, I actually had it saved, so I went to go like relearn it, and I used it to like do the animation, so it would like the opacity would ease in, and then it would translate up, so it felt like it was popping up. Here's a close-up. My takeaways, you shouldn't be hesitant to learn or uncover concepts you think would benefit you. In my project, it was the CSS transitions. In SEP 10, I didn't really focus on this, so I didn't really know how to like use it as I stated earlier. But I wanted to use it to personalize my website and make it a little bit more fun and spice it up. Another thing is that working on time management is important. I know this is a really general takeaway, but for me, I was able to finish my MVP, but for beyond MVP, there was actually a lot I still wanted to add, and my peers gave me a lot of like good ideas, which I didn't get to implement besides like adding more decks because that's like more practical. But there was a lot I wanted to add. Like my peers suggested that I really add like feedback and stuff, and I really liked that, but I didn't get to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jolee. You have now seen all 3 11th grade presentations, so take some time to pick one. All right. Finally, in the 12th grade, students have a choice between two different versions of AP Computer Science, and in both cases, students have ultimate freedom over what they can make. First up is likely to get a reaction, I guess. Let's hear it from Joe Zheng and Kyle Lin.
Hello, my name is Kyle. And my name is Joe, and this is our presentation on mental wellness. So, did you know that 24% of adolescents are addicted to social media? That's nearly 1 in 4 people. Like, that could be you. That could be you. And that could be you. Think about that. So that's why we created our game to tackle that problem. So you can see here, we have a little reaction time game. And we also have a circle clicking game. You see, as you click the circles, the score goes up and the time goes down. And we also have a resources page where we answer questions that our users may have. And our app also has a dark mode, because who doesn't love dark mode? So, just to get into the game I made, which was the circle clicking one, I think my game was pretty straightforward. I gave my starting circle an X and a Y, and basically I put together my circle with a button. So using on-tap gesture, I could track when the user clicked on my circle, and when they did, it basically will change their X and Y coordinate to be different, to be a random number from 50 to 300. So each time you click the circle, it just goes to a different place. And on the bottom code snippet, you can see that I have a button, and I'll talk more about that button later. Okay, so you can just see here, circles moving around. It doesn't go out of bounds because I made sure that it's going to be within the screen, because you obviously don't want the circle like going out of the screen and you can't click it anymore. So one big challenge I had when creating my game was trying to add that start button. I wanted a start button that would start my game properly. It'll reset the parameters properly. But when I tried just wrapping my game with a button, it obviously didn't work that simple. None of my parameters were resetting properly. My circle, when you clicked on it, it didn't even work anymore. And so to solve that problem, I separated my parameters and my game functions into various different functions, where if you see on the bottom code snippet, when you press the button, it will actually call the start game function, which then will reset the parameters properly and will help run the game.
Okay, so for my reaction time game, I had 2 important components that I wanted to directly implement. And the first one being that I wanted to make sure the game was randomized. I wanted to make sure that the time that the background switches from red to green was anywhere between 1 to 8 seconds. And the way I did this was by creating a game start function, where I created a double variable, which is random delay, and then I let it get a randomized value from anywhere between 1 to 8. Afterwards, I'll put that variable into a dispatch queue, which is a delay, and then I would create a conditional statement that would change the message to tap. It will also get the current time when the background switches color, and then the background color will also change to green. And then the more important thing that I wanted to do was to make sure that the game actually ended if the user taps on the green background. So I had a separate function called check, and I nested a conditional where I checked if the game state was true, which meant the game was running. And if the background color was green, then when the user were to click on the background color, when it would turn green, it would end the game and it would give a reaction time speed through the endgame function. And then otherwise, a message that says too soon would appear on the screen. And if the game hasn't started at all, then the game would just start with the game start function. So over here, we can see the game in action. The background changes from red to green, and then once a user taps on the green background, then a reaction time would appear on the top. And so one of the main challenges that I had was to make my app look better. believe it or not, on the left side, that used to be the main page of our app. It was just a simple yellow background with a bolded title, and then we had 3 buttons, which a user would just click on to navigate our app. And the way we created this page was through navigation stack and also navigation links. So I would just add 3 separate navigation links, give it a title, give the buttons a title, and then have a separate destination with the other profile paths that we had. And we just styled the buttons to make it look somewhat better, but in reality it wasn't that good. So I started researching on W3 schools. I also watched a couple YouTube videos, and I found something called a tab view. And instead of using a navigation stack and navigation links, I started including a tab view and multiple tabs, as you can see on the screen, where I would just include like a tab title, and then I'll also include a system built-in, a Swift built-in logo to include a logo for our tabs. And then on top of that, I would include the game card contents within the tab. And on the right side, you can see our tabs over here. We have a home tab with a play kind of logo. And then next to it, we have a resources tab with a star logo.
And so throughout our project, we had many takeaways because of how complex just working on this was because of our time. So one thing I learned throughout this project was to start simple and to not overcomplicate everything from the start. From the beginning, I did have grand dreams about creating a super complex game with super cool features and this and that, but as I worked on my project, I realized that it wasn't feasible, and so that kind of leads into my second takeaway, is to develop a core feature and build around it. Mr. Mueller stresses the idea of creating the MVP first, which is the minimal viable product, and now I might have not listened to him from the start, but eventually, we all come back and listen to Mr. Mueller. So I created my circle clicking game and eventually added features to it, such as a timer, score, and buttons, which was my Beyond MVP.
And one of the takeaways that I had was to keep my goals flexible as projects evolve with time. So as I continued learning Swift, I started to find new features that I wanted to add into my app that I hadn't originally included in my MVP plan. And so I treated my MVP plan as an active blueprint. So I would make new changes and update my deadlines to push back certain features so that I can include certain features that I prioritize first. And then my second takeaway was to navigate through mistakes with perseverance. So throughout this project, I encountered many different mistakes, with my most important one being that I deleted my entire project. And I couldn't really recover my repository, so I had to work really hard to restore everything. And because of my perseverance, I got to where I am today. And before I end off, I want to give a couple shout outs to Brian Castro and also Michael Mera for giving me genuinely good feedback on my app, and it was something that I can effectively build on.
Additionally, I want to extend my utmost gratitude to Johnny Yang, Keith Howe, and Jimmy Lee, which I see in the crowd. I'm really grateful for all the late night conversations we had regarding my project, and your feedback was very helpful in creating my project. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe and Kyle. So we've seen some games, and there's lots of games out there, but how good are all the games? Our next presenter will help you find out. Help me welcome Matthew Cardona.
Hello, I am Matthew, and this is my APCSP project. Off the top of your head, what games did IGN give a 10 out of 10? I bet you wouldn't know that, but my app lets you know it. Using Coda.org, I created a website that lets you pick a number between 0 and 10 and shows you what games have that score on it. Someone give me a number between 0 and 10. I heard 6 first, so I'm going to do 6. As you can see, all the games that's rated a 6. There's lots of games. You could basically click on it and scroll to see how many games have that score. You might be wondering how I was able to do this. Using a built-in dataset from code.org, I was able to connect the input score to the score that the game has in the dataset by using getColumn, as you can see. And here's a screenshot of the dataset, part of it. When the search button is clicked and on it, then collects the input score from the dropdown, then takes all the games that match with the input score and outputs it on the screen. I use a function to search through all the games, and if that game equals the input score, then the game would be added to the list that you saw. I had some challenges making this project. A challenge that I had was having the games filter based on the score you inputted. How I solved this is I captured the input score and I compared it against the dataset's data basically, and I had to update the displayed list. Another challenge that I had was making these slides mostly because I had a limited time to do them. I only had about like 2 days to really give all my effort into these slides. A main takeaway that I have from this project is to be a self-directed learner. Figuring out how to solve problems without a textbook or a teacher giving me the answers was a great way for this project to be more personalized. And another takeaway I had was to like be yourself and give your all into your project. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matthew. Up next is our final presentation. You guys know that we're living in a world where AI is everywhere. And while many of us are using AI, this senior made his own AI. It is with great pleasure that I welcome to the stage Shijun Weng.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Shijun and my project is called TypePanel. And before I start explaining what my project is, let me ask you all a question. Have you ever all been in a situation where it's like late at night and you want to ask someone a question, maybe a teacher or a friend, but like you know they're probably in bed, like they're probably sleeping, and you're like, there's no way they're going to respond until like tomorrow morning or something. So, I'm sure you've been in that situation. And my project is basically a self-hostable platform where you can create your own AI chatbot, customize it in any way you want, and then you can like make an AI version of something to answer questions for you. So here's the demo. So here's the admin page. You can go on there and then click on that top right button and to create your own AI model. So as an example here, I'm creating an HSTAT assistant. So here I'll answer the API key and click on the create model. And then after that, I can configure it. Like I can change its name, the tone that you want it to respond in, and then also add a system prompt like in the way that you want it to, a specific way you want it to act. But here I'm not gonna add that. And here is the knowledge base page. This is the core feature of this project where you can add your own, you can upload your own documents and then AI will answer questions based on the documents you uploaded. So as an example, I created the HSTAT knowledge base, and here you can open it, and then as an example, I'm going to upload the HSTAT student handbook, which you can find on the HSTAT website. I download it as a TXT file and I click on upload. It's going to take some time for AI to process that. And after it's done, you can click on the button to go to the chat page. Right here, you will see a really familiar UI. You've probably seen that on like every other AI that you probably use, like ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that. And here, I'll ask questions like here, hello, how are you? It's going to tell you, hello, I'm here and ready to assist you. How can I help you today? And then to test out, to see if AI can actually answer questions based on the documents you uploaded. So I'm going to ask them questions like, what is HSTAT's rating possible? And it's going to pull out information directly from that file that I uploaded earlier. It's going to tell you the rating scale, like DNS is 45%, and then passing grade is 65% to 100%. And then we can also ask questions like, who is the principal? And it's going to tell you it's Ms. Shepard. And now, what are the tools that I use? I'm not going to explain all of them because it'll be a lot, but here are the main three. So the first thing is TypeScript. This is the main programming language I use for this project. And then Next.js, this is the main framework I use for building the front end and back end of the website. And Postgres, this is basically a SQL relational database I use for storing user data. And before I get started on talking like the process of how I build this project, I need to make sure all of you understand the different techniques of how AI chat models are customized. So the first technique is prompt engineering. This is the most basic technique, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows. I'm pretty sure most people have heard of it at least once. So basically, how this works is we just guide AI with specific instructions. Like we just tell AI what words, how do you want it to respond. This technique is easy to implement, but the problem is the result may be inaccurate and it can be really slow. And the second technique is fine-tuning. This is basically a technique where you further train AI after it has already been trained. This technique will produce way more accurate results, but it can take a lot of time because you need data and then training takes time. And then the third technique, which is called RAG and stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And how does RAG work? It's really simple. Basically, a user will ask a question, and then before that question reaches the AI model, it's going to search, our program will search for documents in our database for information that's related to the question. For example, when user asks, what is the school's grading policy? We want to retrieve information related to grading policy from that HSTAT SEP. So we will get that information and then we will add it to the prompt, like to the question, and then we send both that answer and the user's question to AI, and AI will give you a response based on the information we pull from our documents. And then the first step, we're building back from scratch, is we have to do something called chunking. So instead of sending that whole 100 pages or whatever the student handbook to that AI, we only wanted to send information that's related to the user's question. So when we're adding that document to the database, we want to chunk the documents into multiple chunks, so like school rules, grading policy, and mission statement. And then after we chunk them, we want to generate embeddings. And embeddings are basically a high-dimensional vector representation of text. And what this embedding allows us to do is we can use it to compare the meaning, like the similar meanings of the words the user said. So for example, we have an example chunk that we chunked from earlier, like students must maintain at least 75 attendance to qualify for exams. This chunk, we're going to convert that to vectors, and then it's going to have like a coordinate points, something like that, and then when we have other chunks, like for example, maybe a user asks, what is the grading policy? It's going to look for chunks that's similar to this. So that leads us to step 3, which is semantic retrieval. This is also my favorite part. I'm pretty sure it's also everyone's maybe favorite part, but it's basically math. Okay, it's just math. So here we have our lovely formula right here. It's called cosine similarity. And what this formula does is it's going to measure how close two vectors are in a semantic space. So for example, earlier we asked AI, what is the school's grading policy? And before we send that question to AI, we're going to search information from database that's related to this user's question. So in our database, we have multiple chunks like school rules, grading policy, and mission statement. And grading policy is the one that's closest. And we all know that cosine graph is always, the value is always from -1 to 1. So the closer it is to 1 with this formula, then that means the closer they're related to. And then after we get that information from our database, and then we will have to inject that into our prompt. So when user asks a question like, what happens if attendance is below 75%? We're going to retrieve that chunk, like student must maintain at 75% attendance to qualify for exam. So we're going to take both that information, and then we're going to inject them together, basically merge them together, and then we will send that to the AI, and AI will give you a response based on the context that we provided. And some of the challenges that I have when it comes to building this project is building RAG and TypeScript like completely from scratch without tutorial. Because RAG is like, we know that like in the world today, like AI is really like popular, and the most popular language we use for AI related stuff is Python. So all tutorial I can find online is like all in Python. There's like no tutorial I can find for TypeScript. So basically, there's like no way I can build this like where I can just follow tutorials. So I have to look up the logic behind RAG and basically build it with my understanding of how RAG works, like the logic, the math behind it. And then another challenge is chunks can be too big. So when I was building the algorithm for chunking, sometimes the chunks are way too big and the results are not really accurate. So maybe like, for example, chunk 1, the student must maintain 75% attendance. Let's say this chunk is pretty small, but let's say this chunk is like way longer. Let's say we also have information includes like maybe a staff's phone number or something, and we don't actually need that information. So we need to make sure our chunk is like perfect size. So we only want the information that we need. And some key takeaways are AI is more useful when you can control it. Basically, instead of having like an AI where like ChatGPT will give you like really general response, it's more useful if we can have AI that can generate information, that can like answer the question just like an expert, where they only know about a specific topic, but like they're really good at it. Yeah, thank you.
Shijun, I think I speak on behalf of everyone in this room when I say, wow. You have now seen all 3 12th grade presentations. So take some time to pick one and write your name of the project, few glows and grows. All right, in closing, it is with great honor that we showcase these projects before you today. I hope everyone in this room walks away feeling encouraged by what is possible at the intersection of passion, curiosity, and perseverance. You know, each year we add new students to this program who are going to be inspired by your great work, and they'll have a chance to contribute to it moving forward. Our rising students, 10th and 11th graders, you're going to go on to the next grade level and continue to learn both new technologies and new skills that will help you communicate, collaborate, and problem solve. And finally, we say goodbye for now to our seniors, moving on to the next chapter in their journeys, ready to change the world. Could I please have my finalists, as well as our honorable mentions, join me on stage, please? Honorable mentions, if you guys can go on this side. As they are making their way up, will all of my SEP students please stand up? You all have worked very hard and deserve a round of applause. Come on, SEP students, stand up. You deserve a round of applause. Okay, you can have a seat. Ms. Bierlein and also Ms. Guzman is here. We don't have Ms. Sukaria, Mr. Rainer, Mr. Figueroa, but will you guys please stand up? Let's give the SEP team a round of applause. All right, and so we have some goodie. Mr. Mueller. All right, so we have some goodies for our honorable mentions and finalists. So give it up for Miles Post. Hassan Mahmoud. Ocean Abdujak. Alahuddin. Aaron Williams. Tina Shao. Don't be close to this. Let's give her a applause anyway. Jacob Leggett. Al Lynn. And Katie Coe. All right. And again for our finalists, Sadik Hossain. Stephanie Flores-Ayona. Evangelina Ermakova. Damaris Pelaez. Kenji Denaro. Jolee. Jolee Pelaez. And last but not least, Matthew Cardona. And Shijun Weng. Big round of applause for all of our All right, as we conclude in a moment, we have a little bit of extra time. I'm going to let you guys stand up in a moment and mingle with each other. I encourage you to meet someone new. Please also use this time to add your note card to the project bag. So we have the 10th grade on the far side, 11th in the middle. Hold on, sit down please. 10th grade on the far side, 11th in the middle, 12th over here on this side. Also, those of you who have third period lunch, if you were supposed to have lunch this period, we did not forget about you. You can go to the cafeteria during fourth period, and Ms. Grayling has a pass for you guys. So come see her to get your pass in just a moment. Let me send you off with one of my life mottos, which is that code is cool. Kids are cooler. Kids coding is the coolest. If you'd like to revisit the projects that our cool kids coded, here's the URL. Thank you all for being here and supporting these coding kids. You can have a